Tov, good morning. We continue to work our way through Kriyat Shema Ubirchoteha, the recitation of Shema and its blessings. This week we've been focusing on the first and best known line of Shema. This morning I'd like to take a look at the response to that line, which is a kind of interruption, a departure from the biblical paragraph that constitutes the rest of the text both before and after it. The line is Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed, which is hard to translate. It's something along the lines of blessed is the name of the one whose glorious kingdom is forever and ever. Now traditionally this line is spoken aloud just once a year. Was spoken by the high priest on Yom Kippur. Otherwise, it is offered in our services in a kind of whisper or undertone. There's lots of discussion around why this is. The most likely reason is that it is an interruption to the biblical text. In other words, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad in Torah goes right into V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha. So by sticking Baruch Shem in between the two, we are essentially interrupting Torah. So that's the likely reason why this is stated quietly. Another possibility is that the rabbis want to distinguish between what we do in a time when the temple does not stand and what they did when the temple stood in Jerusalem. But there's also a beautiful midrash, a story that offers a different explanation, and I'd like to share that with you this morning. So as the story begins, our patriarch Jacob is old, advanced in years, and he's lying on his deathbed in the land of Egypt, a foreign place to him where he has gone down in his last years to be with his son Joseph, who is in a place of great power there. Jacob goes down with all of his family in the time of famine to live as Joseph's guest. So he's dying here in this strange land. He's been given this promise that God will bring us into the land of Israel, but here he is with all of his family, with essentially the entirety of the Jewish people at the time, now exiled in Egypt. And Jacob is worried. He's terrified that his grandchildren will forget their history. They'll forget who they are, their family tradition, and they will turn to worshiping the gods of the Egyptians. They'll forget they're Jewish. So as the story goes, as Jacob is about to die, and he tells his sons about this worry as they're gathered at his bedside, they, the tribes of Israel, say, Shema Yisrael, which in this case means not listen Israel, the Jewish people, but listen Israel, meaning Jacob. Israel is Jacob's other name that he receives after wrestling with the angel, one who wrestles with God. The sons say, Shema Yisrael, listen, Dad, Adonai is our God. Adonai Echad, and only Adonai, meaning we won't turn to the gods of the Egyptians. And in response, Jacob, with his last whispered breath, says, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Praise God. Praise God's name forever, because their words to him, reassuring them, listen, Israel, we will only worship God, allows him to rest in peace. So with this story in mind, reflect this morning on what sources give you peace. Where do you find peace? Where do you find comfort? What offers reassurance? What, in a difficult time, helps you to know that the world will go on? Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And this morning with the counting of the Omer. Today we are focusing on today is day 35. So we're going to focus on Malchut Shebahod, on nobility in humility. Walking humbly is walking tall. Dignity is the essence of humility and of modesty. The splendor of humility is majestic. Humility that suppresses the human spirit. When we deny our individual powers, this is not humility at all. Or as one of my Musar teachers, Alan Morinus, says, real humility is knowing no more than my space, but no less than my place. Hayom Chamisha Ushloshim Yom Shehem Chamisha Shavuot LaOmer. Today is the 35th day of the Omer, which marks 5 weeks of the Omer.